Distinguished guests and dear friends, good morning. Welcome to the final day of Conventus' 2023, the annual management conclave of International Management Institute, New Delhi. Change is the only constant in our lives, and disruptions are part and parcel of existence. We succeed in today's hyper-competitive environment through constant unlearning, learning, and re-evaluating of our core competencies. Here at Conventus 23, we invite you to join us in learning how to navigate through and emerge as a leader. I, Kiran, and my fellow compare Aryaman will take you through today's session of the Analytics Summit of Conventus 23. The theme for this year revolves around embracing the winds of change, strategies for thriving in disruptive times.
Business strategies have taken different forms over different landscapes, and now the world has found itself staring at unprecedented uncertainty of a scale never seen before. These ever-changing business scenarios have produced organizations with two choices: adapt or fall. The ability to survive depends fundamentally on the ability to evolve. The current business scenarios resonate with the RUPT essence, where unpredictable rapid changes force business leaders to take profound transformative actions. In the fast-paced world, RUPT accurately defines the needed attributes. With the economic environment shifting at a higher pace, rapid adaptation to new changes and challenges becomes a key step in determining the outcome.
Unpredictable challenges call for an agile way of management. While trying to maneuver through these changes, embracing innovation and adaptability is important. The importance of decisions taken in such situations increase as it can shape the businesses in the long run. Therefore, practicing agility becomes of paramount importance. Experience and records subside to give way to new innovative and adaptable methods. In short, the survival guides through unpredictable times could be narrowed down to decisive actions taken in the nick of time. In the long run, our ability to improvise and adapt to the situation would be instrumental to determining the survival and eventually the success of our business. Before we proceed further, we would like to present the Conventus theme video.
The pages of history remind us of the reality that our world can swiftly change its course. Events like pandemics, economic shifts, and unexpected crises echo through the fabric of time. Like a ripple effect, the consequences of these events rapidly reshape the present, creating the perfect chance to gear up and pave the way for an unforeseen future. Adapting to the RUPT paradigm that signifies rapid, unpredictable, profound, and transformative is essential to tread the waters where constant change is the norm. Like a phoenix rising from the ashes, businesses that skillfully surf such changing tides, using hurdles as stepping stones and transform challenges into opportunities, emerge triumphant. To learn from their success, we must reflect on their experiences and grasp what sets them apart.
We are honored to have 5 accomplished industry experts amongst us today. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to them. They will help enrich us in understanding and inspire us all with their insights. So let us begin by introducing the eminent panel who have graced us with their presence.
Firstly, we are delighted to have Mr. Arun Pandit, the co-founder of -SES, India's biggest warehousing and fulfillment platform. He is one of the youngest members of the FICCI National Committee on Logistics. He was the former head of sales for a Matrix Partners funded logistics startup, Loadshare Networks. He has also worked pan-India across multiple sales and marketing roles with organizations like TrucksApp, RPG Group, SEAT, PayU Money, and BlackBuck. He is also a member of the Young Leaders Council, AIMA, and CII. Additionally, he's a speaker, mentor, author, and a former Guinness record holder. We invite Professor Himanshu Joshi to kindly come forward and felicitate Mr. Arun with a bouquet of flowers. Sir, we are glad to have you on the panel and look forward to gaining valuable insights from you.
Moving forward, we have with us Mr. Nishit Pathak, who is working as Global Lead Architecture and Innovation for Cloud and ITO at DXC Technology. He has strong experience in defining and strategizing technology roadmaps for customers and companies using emerging technologies. For his expertise in artificial intelligence, Microsoft has awarded him First Most Valuable Professional in the Artificial Intelligence category. He is the only Artificial Intelligence MVP in India till date. Himanshu sir, if you could kindly welcome Mr. Nishit Pathak with the bouquet. Sir, we are very glad to have you on the panel. Your presence enriches the summit immensely and we look forward to an insightful session with you.
Next, we introduce Ms. Bishaka Jain, a multi-award winning cybersecurity practitioner currently employed with Morgan Stanley India, heading its Awareness as a Service competency. She's a seasoned professional who wears multiple feathers on her hat, such as being the brand ambassador, Cloud Circle leader and advisor for the Women in Cloud Network, and the council representative of the Public Safety and Security Council, West Bengal. She has numerous accolades to her name, such as being the recipient of the prestigious Morgan Stanley Firm Value Award 2022 and the Woman Young Star in Cybersecurity 2023 by Digital Tech Media. Himanshu sir, we request you to kindly felicitate Ms. Bishaka Jain with a bouquet. Ma'am, your reputation precedes you, and we are delighted and honored to have you here.
Next, we introduce Mr. Arun Bhardwaj, who is currently working as the analytics leader at Lenskart. He has more than 10 years of experience working in the analytics and data science domain. He has worked extensively in the area of supply chain and customer analytics, helping e-commerce organizations to provide the best customer experience. He's also set up risk analytics frameworks to minimize the various risks and frauds associated with the online e-commerce business. May I kindly request Himanshu sir to felicitate Mr. Arun Bhardwaj with a bouquet. Welcome sir. We look forward to having an enlightening discussion and learning from your wisdom.
Next is Mr. Karthikeya Sharma, who currently serves as the Vice President at Square Yards. He oversees critical aspects such as business development, operations, and strategic partnerships. Apart from his stints in the real estate sector, he has also proved his exemplary leadership skills in the industry. He was the head of operations for North India and was responsible for a wide range of tasks, such as market expansion, client relationship management, and team supervision. He also oversaw the development of efficient operational processes to drive growth and excellence in the educational technology. Himanshu sir, if I could request you again to felicitate Mr. Karthikeya Sharma with the bouquet. It's a pleasure to have you here today, sir. Thank you for gracing us with your esteemed presence.
Moving on to the moderator of the day, Professor Himanshu Joshi. Sir is currently a professor at IMI New Delhi in the area of information management. Sir has over 19 years of experience in the information technology domain with 13 plus years in IT and management education. He has done his post-graduation diploma in management from IMI New Delhi, where he was the gold medalist and topped for 3 consecutive years. I would like to invite Mr. Chitwan Jindal, Secretary of the Information Management and Analytics Club, to kindly come forward and present Himanshu sir with the bouquet. Sir, we're delighted to have you on board with us as our moderator and look forward to gaining valuable insights from you.
Disruption is either going to happen to you or because of you. These words by Brian Solis, the former VP of Global Innovation at Salesforce, sets the backdrop of the summit. Understanding how to leverage the immense advantage data analytics bring will help companies bring about the winds of change that help them thrive. With this, we present to you our theme for the Analytics Summit 2023.
With rapid advancements being made in technology, businesses must evolve and adapt constantly. In today's world, disruptions are the new constants. New opportunities are being created daily, and companies rise and fall. The theme emphasizes the critical choice faced by businesses. Either they take proactive steps to disrupt their practices and processes, or they risk being disrupted by more agile and innovative competitors. The term RUPT serves as an acronym for rapid, unpredictable, profound, and transformative, representing the nature of the changes that businesses must navigate to thrive. In this current scenario, businesses face the imperative to proactively embrace disruption rather than passively endure its effects. The traditional boundaries of industries are blurring as technology enables innovative business models and creates new market opportunities. Startups and agile companies are challenging established players, forcing them to reassess their approach and adapt to the changing dynamics.
In a rapidly changing landscape, the need to incorporate change and flexibility is high. If firms don't evolve rapidly, they risk going out of business and being overtaken by others that are constantly evolving. Apart from strategic decisions being made with tools such as big data, businesses must be empowered to make everyday decisions employing real-time insights. It helps make quick and smart choices, thereby fostering an agile environment and improving operations.
Data analytics is a rapidly growing field that can impact both large and small scale businesses. More and more businesses are employing data analytics to help them tackle the various challenges of today's rapidly growing, evolving marketscape. Businesses must be able to quantify the value generated through informed decisions and operational improvements. This involves assessing both tangible and intangible benefits to ensure a comprehensive evaluation of the analytics impact on the business.
Data-driven insights are the catalyst to any business's growth. Analyzing large data sets can give immensely valuable insights, but at the same time, they can also be misused for unethical purposes. This can harm the firm's reputation and the data privacy of individuals using the firm's products and services. Thus, the ethical considerations to be made while handling sensitive data is of utmost importance while operating any business. With this, I request our moderator, Professor Himanshu Joshi, to take the session forward. Over to you, sir.
Am I audible? Okay, at the outset, a very warm welcome to all of you for this panel discussion. Let me start with the broad theme, which is data harnessing in the context of handling disruptions. Right. Now, if we look at data, data was projected as the new oil. And if we look at the last 2 decades or so, it has emerged as much more important, more useful than it was anticipated. Now, in the context of disruption, how important do you think is data harnessing? Is it something that we are doing new today? Or is it something which is packaged, in a different format? So, would like to hear your thoughts on the same. There's no particular order. I mean.
So I think, see, data was always there. It's not that data was not there and we have started capturing data now. But I think what most of the organizations have realized in the last decade is that data literacy is very important, right? So without data literacy in the organization, right? So most of the organizations previously usually used to have a specific team, a specific set of people who used to work on their data or who used to use that data, and that also not too effectively. Technology also has a role to play in it. But now I think with the growing importance of data, most of the organizations are now investing in data literacy. Most of the organizations have an input-output metric kind of a framework there where they can assess what are the output metrics and what are the input metrics that are impacting those output metrics, right? And more and more trainings, more and more, I would say, data literacy kind of programs are being run by the organizations. And it's not usually the team and the department kind of framework companies are following now. So organizations are going into more and more pod like a framework, wherein people from multiple departments, multiple teams would be a part of a pod who would work on a problem. And there will be a person who is, let's say, specialized in analytics would be a part of that, so that everybody gets a flavor of how things work in a data driven manner. So companies are trying to adopt more and more data driven culture, inculcate the data culture within the organization, because they have understood that, as you said, that data is the new oil. So yeah.
Is it audible? Am I audible now? Yeah. Okay. So first of all, good morning, everyone. Thank you. It was always a delight to be in IMI. I was in 2019 as well. So always a pleasure to be here. Now, coming back to the question that what Professor Himanshu has asked regarding the data, right? So everybody talks about data being an oil and stuff. I think there's a lot of factual talks about, right, the data that has been generated over a period of time. And it is also a fact that the data has actually doubled in the last 2 years or even less than that, because there's no new ways of generating the data, whether it is IoT devices, whether you be as a human body generating it, whether it is connected systems and all. Now, if you look from the technology angle, right, right, like companies like Microsoft, companies like, Amazon and all, they always understand the power of data, and they started creating what we call as big data, which is Hadoop and Splunk and all of those, stuff. But over a period of time, they realized that, okay, now if I have a data which has been uploaded in my data center with the compute network storage, what I will do with this data if I am not able to capture the insights out of it? So ultimately, what is more important is to generate the insights, which is actionable as well, right? And that has been always the case, where any company who is able to generate the actionable insight has been over a period of time. You would have also seen the other paradigm where the AI has also been disruptive and impacting every one of it. And I would be very prudent to say that if data is a new oil, then AI is a new refinery for it. So which is very, very important for everyone else to understand. Because what data is a means, AI is actually an end to it, right? Because it takes to make some sort of decision, whether it is predictive analytics, whether anything you do with the actionable insights has been. So data harnessing has been a key stuff, and the companies who are actually, harnessing the data at a right churn, it is actually progressing well and will always make a career in a leap and bound shape.
Yeah. So I'll just take a step back, and I come from the supply chain and logistics, and I've been in fintech also. And what I realize is data has always been there, but probably how it has been captured. Somewhere it is captured on registers, somewhere it is captured on Excel, and somewhere it is captured in different kind of formats, even within the same organization, and how data moves from one organization, one unit from one industrial unit to another unit, from one department to another department has always been a challenge. So data is there, but first of all, getting a cleansed state of data, getting a data on a single platform so that data can be shared across the different verticals has been a challenge, even for bigger organized companies also. So you need to understand the first part is the descriptive. So probably you would have heard the different, you can say 4 stages of data analytics or data visibility, when it starts with the descriptive analysis. Descriptive is first of all capturing the data, what is happening. So capturing the data on the platform where you are able to at least see the data and take meaningful inferences of what is happening. That is, in simpler words, it's called visibility. We in the supply chain category or supply chain industry, most of the people, when they talk about technology, what is the technology disruption that is happening in supply chain, they talk about visibility, that I've got visibility of load, I've got visibility of truck, I've got visibility of material. Now the second thing goes into the diagnostic part. So you get data, on the basis of data, you're able to find what went wrong, what went right. So once you have data, you do your analysis over it, and once you do the analysis over it, you're able to figure out the challenges which are there. Then the third stage comes out to be the prescriptive, the predictive stage. In the predictive stage, it's basically on the basis of data, whatever you have collected, you are able to make predictions that what can happen. And then the final stage would be, the fourth stage would be the prescriptive. Now, what can happen? How do you make it happen? So these are the 3-4, you can say, guiding: descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive. These are the basic 4 fundamental ways of the evolution of data-driven analytics in any organization. So I met Mr. Kapil Bharti day before yesterday. He's the CTO of delivery. So I had an interesting discussion with him regarding data. So he said that at the initial first year, they had 450 orders in a week. And they were like very happy, from 100 to 450 jump. And at that particular point of time, their thought process was getting data with respect to visibility, with respect to assistance. So capturing data so that the other people have got the visibility of that. Then once their number increased from, say, 450 packets per week to 15,000 packets per week, then they came into the fact that we want to become in the guided mode. I've got decent enough data in which, instead of just visibility, I'm also guiding them. It's like a nudge that they're giving, that on the basis of data, you can do this, or I mean, at least some guidelines to the team, because specifically in supply chain and logistics, the talent is not very good. Most of the people are not very tech savvy or data driven. So you need that guided. Once they reach to a parameter of, say, around 50 billion points, which was there, 50 billion points where they are around more than 1 billion deliveries they did, then they realized that they need to create a directed kind of model. So from assisted to guided to directed, in which they are telling their team what to do. But that came because they had 1 billion plus packets delivered. They've got 50 billion data points. And in between also, they also bought a lot of data, clean set of data, in order to create the models which are more prescriptive in nature, and they are able to assist in the directed kind of model. So this is how generally it evolves. The key challenge that I generally face, I mean, pardon me, with respect to Amazons and other companies of the world, they do have a strong team, but we need to understand that most of the companies are not that tech savvy. They do not have probably business analysts doing a lot of work behind it, or they do not have a proper infrastructure. Even we talk about logistics, from getting the raw material to bringing it to the factory, from manufacturing it to getting it to the distribution center, to a SPOC, to an end delivery. There is a WMS, there is a TMS, there is a procurement management system, there is an OMS, there is a distribution management system. There are 10 systems which are there. These 10 systems generally do not talk in between them. So data is there, but if you got very minor set of data, or data is in silos, you cannot make meaningful inferences out of it. You cannot go into the directed kind of stage, which I was talking earlier. So my thing is that data is there, but first of all, capturing the data, the descriptive part, or in order to get the guided model, is something which needs to be further strengthened.
Am I audible now? And when we talk about capturing the data, there is no limit to what can be done with a set of data. So when we learn data as a subject, or when we practice things with data, the problem with practitioners today is that we are not able to capture the very essence of what are we doing, what are we here for. So basically, data can be used to solve many problems. And when we look at solving problems, there are ways how those data can be used. There can be ways through which you can anonymize data to learn from the historical evidences, what has happened in a place. And when it comes to learning, and when you have security, since security is my background, in place, so what I have understood over the year is there is no limit to how one can deal with it, but I also understand that the top of one mountain is the bottom of another when it comes to learning from data. So yes, it's an ocean to learn from.
Okay, hi. So the question that was asked was whether the data has always been there, or some disruptions are happening. To that, my point was that I come from a very traditional industry, real estate. And earlier, the data collection was not there. Even if it was there, like Arun just said, it was there with in the registers that is being done, or it is there. I feel what is lacking right now in traditional industries is what my colleague here just said, that it is basically the literacy part of it. The resources are there, but they still do not know how to capitalize on them. And that is where the role of startups is coming in. I don't want to rush into the Amazons or the Microsofts of the world, because now the startups are the ones that are bringing a lot of disruptions and are bringing new things into the market. And with them coming in and bringing a sea of change with how they will be analyzing data, for example, we are trying to create a metaverse for the whole of Gurgaon where you can interact. And that is only possible through data that has been collected over and over and over and over of years. And if these changes keep on coming in, I think we'll have a much smoother adaptability. So the adaptability is in question. The data has always been there.
Okay, so I'll bring the discussion around the point that Arun and then Karthik you made regarding digital literacy, right? So there was a time when analytics and analysis was specific to a particular domain. There were a set of people who were working on it. Now, what you are talking about is a shift in the fundamental mindset, wherein everybody understands data and has the ability, to analyze it, right? Now, so are we saying that we are shifting from a scenario wherein data and analysis was for a few set of people to data and analysis being the responsibility of everyone, right? Because this is especially important from the perspective of students, because, right, traditionally we are thinking in terms of silos, right? I'm the operations guy, right? I'm the finance person, and then there's the technology bit. So are we looking at the shift in the mindset, data being the responsibility of everyone?
Yeah, I think correctly put. So as and when there are more and more startups coming in, right? So there is a specific person or specific team in the organization who takes the responsibility of educating everyone about the data. And it's not so I would not say that everybody in the organization will be doing the analysis part, but understanding what is the data saying, understanding what does a KPI or a key performance indicator means. I think that is a leap that most of organizations are taking now. So there are still a lot of large scale organizations wherein you will see that a single metric or a single KPI would mean differently to different team. And there will be sheets, dashboards, reports floating around the organization and nobody. So for example, if I belong to a particular team, a particular metric might mean differently to me, and the same metric might be interpreted in a different way in a different team. And that kind of causes a lot of confusion, a lot of I would say a lot of inflexibility to take decisions, because most of the time the discussions happen around whether the data is correct, whether the data is making sense or not, right? In order to be agile, in order to make decisions faster, I think data literacy, as I mentioned previously, has to be there. There has to be a person who takes that responsibility of inculcating that data-driven culture in the organization. And there are different, and technology is also going in that way. There are different tools and technologies available in the market. For example, for data cataloging, there are different tools in the market where you can catalog the data. For maintaining your KPI repository or KPI dictionary, there are different tools and technologies available. So technology is also playing a major role in inculcating that data-driven culture within the organization. But I think it's the responsibility of the organization as a whole to be data literate so that they can take decisions in a faster manner rather than just one single person or one single team.
So I would like to add, I totally agree with him. Now, what I have experienced working across multitudes of startups and even the corporates is that generally data is everyone's responsibility, but unless and until it is put it in the process, probably will not get it. So you have to create systems, you need to use tools, you have to make processes in which data is like a compulsory part of it. If you'll say that they will do on a goodwill and they'll understand, then it becomes a little difficult. Now, with respect to startups, like multiple of my colleagues talked about startups being a major disruptive force behind data. The reason being, for example, startup needs to grow very fast. So they need to find places, areas, gaps which are required where they can disrupt and they can grow. So unless and until if they have got the same data which everyone has got, if they are not getting into the data, they'll not be able to understand the various gaps which are there, the problem statements which are there. And these problem statements and gaps are the areas which are not being catered by anyone. And if you are able to cater them, then you are in the better position to basically monetize it and grow, to build your story. So that's why startups are more focused in capturing the data, whether it's customer data, whether it's client data, whether it is data with respect to partners, whether it's data with respect to density and with respect to mesh. So all of this data helps them create a USP, helps them, gives them an edge over other companies which are there. And so if a person has to invest between a normal company, there are a lot of traditional companies which are there probably doing better revenue, better gross margins, all other ratios are there, but still they do not get that kind of funding as compared to a startup because they will stagnate at one juncture. So with this data, the startups have a position to go beyond that, and that is what most of the investors are betting on.
I want to add few more points, right? I think first is data awareness, right? Now we already spoken about data literacy and awareness. Individuals, right? Such as you all who are studying over there, sitting, or even all of us as well. We all generate a lot of data for ourselves, right? If any one of you have been a part of a social medium, you are actually generating a data, right? You are also generating data for your medical records as well, right? How many times have you stored that sort of data in a very uniform way? Majority the answer has been no, at least in India or at least in Asia, right? Which is where most of the companies have been very disruptive and making sure. The second thing is to make sure that from the company's perspective, it is very evident to create the ethical mode of the data, that what is they need to do with the data, they need to be very clear about it, telling to everyone that this is what they want to do, because ethical use of data, having a right code ethics policy and a data ethics policy is very important. That is second. Third is, data has always been not a 1% stuff and all, right? There has been lot of companies who's actually been pioneering and doing and being ahead of race because of the whole data generations, right? You would have seen in YouTube, right? Everybody is now a finance literate guy. They have been talking about say no to FDs and this and all of those, right? You would have seen it. Why? Why they are doing? Because they are generating content. What is content? Data, right? Now, irony of the situation is that when we are talking about 95% of the data, it has been in an unstructured way. Right? So to understand and to calculate and consolidate and put the data into a structured way so that it can really create some sort of insight has been again a game changer for it. So not just the awareness, which is not a 1% stuff, and then you also see, you know, new jargons coming it out in the industry, right? Chief data officer, right? How much of them was there 10 years back, right? So over a period of time, certainly you will see now you have business analysts, you will have data analyst, right? So everything will be related to it, right? Sometimes you will always call it out as a marketing, but under the core, you need to understand that what they have to do as a part of the data ethics and take it forward.
Am I audible? Yes. So, and having said that data is everybody's responsibility, we also have to take in account how do we learn about it, and one way through which organizations can help change the behavior of how people deal with data or data ethic culture is through micro credentialing. And when I say this, I feel it's very underrated, the impact of the same, but when it is in place, at least you will have a Gita or what to say, table of contents that you will have to keep in mind how to deal with it, and then you will be very particular about mishandling data, because in the long term mishandling data can cost to your reputation, and it takes a lot of years to build a reputation, but just one breach or one disruption in mishandling things which can cause a lot of financial as well as reputational loss. So yes.
Can you cite an example, how you are doing this at Morgan Stanley?
So
You know,
for us, we have awareness sessions which are mandatory for every new joiner, and we keep in check as to are they, have they attended this, and then there are evaluations regarding the same that we have once in a while, and then we have also put things as a revision, I would say, for people who are a little older in the organization. Maybe 1.5 years later, you'll have the same insights again, just to make you aware or remind you about the things that you have learned earlier. So that is how you deal with it. For instance, uh, we all know about phishing attacks, right? So there is a simulated phishing awareness program in most of the organization, just to make sure that the employees don't click the wrong links, so that any information, important or unimportant information, doesn't go out of the system. And since I come from a banking institution, so financial institutions are more aware or vigilant regarding this. So these are few practices about regarding the awareness, and that is which is very underrated yet very important for reputational as well as financial losses.
So, as she rightly said, but the challenge is what I feel that for the ease of doing business, that is where the greed is coming in, I feel. To ensure that your data is readily available at one click and there are not multiple checks that are there. So, if you want to have an ease of business, we cannot forget the ethics to do that. And probably a lot of examples are there in the market. Yesterday I was reading Microsoft had a leak, and some time back Facebook had a leak, and these are major organizations, but they learn from it. The challenge is sometimes things might happen, but you have to learn from it. We cannot be rigid on the pattern that this is the way that we have been stuck with and this is the manner that it would work. If there is a change that has come in, if there is a fault that has come in, we need to rectify it, and we need to have stricter checks and policies in data. And if they are there in the market, I think with the evolution of AI and machine learning and IoT, as Sir said, I think things will become stricter and the checks will be much more larger.
The amendments has to be there when it comes to policies, framing policies. So there are organizations which we see which has a traditional way of writing policies, and that dates to like 20 years back or 25 years back, and nobody really cared about it. But with the technology dynamics constantly changing and evolving, I think there has to be a constant check into the policies, and there has to be amendments with ongoing laws or legal system of the nation or across the globe.
okay, just to talk about the ethical use of data, which many of you talked about. With generative AI coming into the picture, right there, we see that a lot of employees are using it to build client proposals, even drafting emails or creating PPTs, right? So how do you take care of the ethics in that context, right? So awareness related to that kind of behavior.
See, that's a talk of a town, to be honest, right? So, so generative AI, see, AI has always been there. It is just that, now since the era of ChatGPT has started coming in, everybody started using. And there is no harm on utilizing the productivity tools, right? All of us do it out by one way or another. There is always a shortcuts. But when we are actually generating the content, which is all about generative AI, right? Then it's a different ball game, because now we realize that, okay, this tool is been doing, and what we are doing is a monotonous activity, because what we were taking like hours, it is actually doing it out in minutes and in seconds, and that is actually been the case. Now, from the organization perspective, right? They need to take a stand about what they want to, whether they want to embrace this or whether they want to not embrace it, right? Now, generative AI, I think no companies will say no to it, right? Now, they will always say they have an apprehension whether to use chat GPT or not, that's a different thing. But generative AI, of course, creating a generative AI for their own enterprise, I think absolutely yes, right? Nobody can say, because this will be a major disruption, if not now by now. It is going to disrupt every industry that you can ever imagine, right? Not disrupt, transformed, and even invade. It will change the way we have been working out. From our organization, right? We have what we are calling as Office of AI, right? Which is actually setting out the policies for us on how to utilize and how to work on a generative AI in a right way. Generative AI for an enterprise makes sense, right? So for example, if you have an LLM model, right, which is actually being redirected to your internal site, and it is able to generate and answer questions, right? It actually resolves the problems about, finding the right content. I tell you, in any of the organization, any of the big organization, whether it is startups or small, big, or so, collaboration has been a very, very big issue, right? Finding the right information at a right time, at a right place has always been a key. Generative AI is actually solving, right? Even Google was solving it. But what is the problem between Google and, ChatGPT, right? Google was giving you, hajar answers for things, right? If you think that good, advantages of a particular medicine, it will lay it out. And if you say disadvantage of a particular medicine, it will also lay out those stuff. There's always been a challenge of using Google. But when you are talking about ChatGPT and all of these, it is done very nicely stuff. It is generating new content and we have to embrace it, but for an enterprise. So having a utilization through a right Office of AI kind of a thing where the companies should have a right guided policy, because otherwise they might be into a tough soup. Now, in terms of literacy and awareness that we always talked about, putting your data into a public domain will always create a chaos, because then it can always come it out into the stuff like what ChatGPT and others are doing, right? Same way, a lot of companies have created a lot of code generation tool, like you would have heard something like Copilot and all. Game changer, right? I sit in the advisory board of Microsoft. We are also coming up with Copilot beta chat. So you can actually chat with the code and extract the insights out of it, right? Now there has to be a governance which needs to be imbibed into the stuff, and companies needs to really be ahead of time, and they will learn, right? Because it is also for their first time, so they will learn over a period of time, as what Vishaka also have mentioned, that the policies needs to be reviewed and updated over a period of time. I think people will learn as such, and this is also a game changer for the companies, because it is also bringing new opportunities, new paradigm shifts. And the way companies are going, I think new business models are going to come. So it's a more like a trajectory part for it, because you need to have a balance between what is right and what is wrong, and still go ahead with the path. Right? That's the way I would say.
So you must have heard the quote "survival of the fittest." Who said it? No, Darwin didn't said it. So it was an interpretation by, I do not remember the scientist as said. Darwin said the species who is most, you can say, active towards change would survive. It was never survival of the fittest. It was not said by Charles Darwin. So now the ethical concern is ChatGPT comes, a lot of the people who are doing some work which are taking a lot of time, now it can be done in a much faster manner. But eventually when computers came, then there was a lot of revolt that happened, that computers are coming, our jobs would go. So thing is that people would have to evolve. Unfortunately, it's not always fair in life, whether it's personal and professional. So they would have to evolve, but the evolution would happen in a different manner. So they would have to learn new skill set. They would probably, from a copywriter, would become something else. And if they are a copywriter, then probably they would be have to learn skills in order to give better prompts, because otherwise a lot of time I've seen ChatGPT using the same words, same thought process, it becomes too lifeless. So for me it feels like it is minus the feel which is there. So चार लोग लिखेंगे, चार लोग same ही लिख के आ जाएगा. If you are in the same industry, it would use the same set of words, same set of things. It becomes too monotonous in nature. So I think evolution would happen, and one has to evolve, and one has to change as per the thing. And yes, there will be some apprehension, there will be some disturbance, but nothing much can be done about it.
Recently, a student of mine, she said that there are actually courses which teaches you how to prompt in the generative AI tools. So which for me was very interesting to learn. And yes, you can actually make the most of it if you know how to use it the right way. So why not?
Yeah, so I think as she mentioned that, so it's not a replacement for your jobs, it's something that will assist your jobs. And the people who know what specific question I have to ask, I think that's where the value addition would lie. So yeah, so I think.
So, in terms of the new skill sets that these budding managers need to prepare themselves for the future, I mean, would you think that would be something which is an add-on?
So, great question, first of all, right? I go to numerous colleges and universities, right? And this is the question that happens. So forget about, the generative AI, even the time since the AI has came in, right? I think one of the first fundamental thing that you need to be learning is you need to be having an agile way of learning the things. You need to learn, unlearn, relearn the stuff. There was a very famous quote that was given by Mr. Bill Gates that it is okay to be confused for a while, right? And I think, that has been always a stuff, right? When I started my career, Visual Basic and all, and then the .NET came in, and I realized that if I'm done with the .NET, there is nothing like that. 15 years, fast forward, right? Every second guy in the industry knows .NET as well as Java and all of those stuffs. So I think you need to be very agile in terms of, and I have seen that sort of stuff taking the changes, right? Whether it is from .NET and Java of the words to open source to, areas of AI and all of those, and new technologies will come. I think that is something that you will be bombarded. So first of all, need to have a market awareness that what is actually happening in the industry, because there's always a demand. You need to understand that what is the industry that has been demanding rather than what is the courses that you have been enrolled, right? Because there has been a lot of gap between what the industries or the companies asked for rather than what is being taught, right? So having a practical understanding of the industry demand, like look on the JD and understand that what is the questions that has been asked, right? Now these skills like prompt engineering skills and all those skills, they will always be coming over a period of time. There will be new skills that will create it. Now, I always have seen that, if there are two people, the one who embraces and utilizes the AI will always be excelling over a period of time rather than the one who is not utilizing it. So utilizing the technology for your own productivity, for your own benefit is actually the key. So you need to be aware that what has been happening, right? Understand that what has been the case in terms of the quantum computing. There has been a lot of areas that has been done, not just ChatGPT and generative AI, right? Of course, it's a talk of the town for sure. But then there are a lot of skills that has been done. But having an agile way of learning, relearning and learning, I think that has been gained. You cannot never say that, hey, I know this, now I don't need to know this. You have to be into an area where you need to be an expert, what we can say, jack of all trades, right? Of course, mastering in one is always going to be a fundamental way, but you have next 35 years to work out it. Make a solid foundation for your own self, right? And the way you can do it out is make sure that you are smart enough to learn new things. Have a constant learning mindset. There's nothing that is going to be beaten irrespective of the technology, recession, market ups and downs which is coming out. I think that's going to be always a key, advantageous skill that you will always have in your arms.
I would like to add one thing on it. So I've been fortunate enough to work with multitudes of students, whether from engineering or MBA colleges across the past decade. And one thing that I've realized is that a lot of the people are very good with respect to, say, Tableau, Power BI, and other tools, SPSS, etc., and other tools which are available. They're very good with it. They are very good theoretically. They understand the different models, Monte Carlo model, this, that, X, Y, Z. But what happens is when it comes to implementation, see, when you are creating a model, you need to understand what the levers are. You might be the best at using that particular tool or using that particular data. I'll just give an example. So I was in discussion with a very senior supply chain professional in a very big FMCG company, one of probably the preferred companies of multiple of the sales and marketing people here. And they said that, okay, they were doing a modeling with respect to the supply chain distribution planning. And they said that they wanted to send a vehicle from Calcutta to Siliguri. I don't know if someone is from Calcutta here. They understand Calcutta, Siliguri, probably 1,000 kilometer, 800,000 kilometers, which is there. So they had to move a load of around 800 kgs, which is there. It is a regular movement which happened. And then we said that you have to move through a 2.5 ton capacity vehicle. And they said that it is 800 kgs. Why are you moving through 2.5 ton? Move it through Tata Ace, the normal Tata Ace that is there. It has a capacity of 800,000 kgs. Why are you moving it through it? You are fools, it was like indirectly saying. So these people understand what the Excel is, but they do not understand that a Tata Ace would not move from, say, a Calcutta to Siliguri because it's 1,000 kilometers, it will not get reverse haul. So they are not very well aware about the practical nuances happening in the industry. So learning a tool is good, needs to be done, but unless and until you're connected on ground with the people, you will not be able to understand it. Specifically in supply chain, I've seen multiple use cases in which even the best of the supply chain brains from NITIs of the world, etc., fail to understand that how a local transporter is able to give better costing as compared to them, but on paper it cannot be there because a lot of nuances are there at the ground. So before building a model, before using these tools, etc., you need to have a very fair understanding about what happens in the ground, what are the levers, because what you'll input will give an output. So if your input is on basis of a theoretical knowledge, like people say that you have to do sales before you get into marketing, because otherwise आप अपने मन से सोचोगे कि ऐसा marketing होना चाहिए, ground में different होता है. People feel that okay, ghadi detergent is used for washing clothes, but most of the places use cases is washing floors because it's a cheaper alternate to washing clothes. So that's a different use case altogether. So unless and until whatever industry you are serving, unless until you meet the end users, you can say the different stakeholders and understand the different use cases and then build models, then use data in an appropriate manner, then only a good result would come. Otherwise, it would be more of a theoretical kind of result, which may strike luck at a point of time, and most of the times it will not.
I'll give one more scenario to it, which is going to be very, very useful for you all, right? So over a period of time in your career, you will launch a lot of new products, and you will be very, very happy about that you have been launching this product, right? The success mantra for you all is not to be launching a new product, right? The success mantra needs to be how much that product or a solution is being adopted by a general mass is what is going to be the changer, right? So if you have launched a product and it is not been accepted by the people for whom you have created, then what's the whole point? So to understand the ground reality, as what Mr. Arun has said, right, is very, very important, right? I just give you a very classic example, right? Back around 7-8 years back, we created a lot of work on image recognition stuff. And we realized that, okay, that is something that has been our forte of creating an image recognition softwares and all of those. And I thought that, how can I utilize this image recognitions for some social cause? And I was talking to it. I went out to a lot of areas, and then I went to a company called National Association of Blind, which is in Mumbai. And they said that, hey, if you have created this, so why don't you create a software for our blind people? And I said that, how can I create it for the blind people because they cannot see the word? He said that, and then I realized that the 90% of the blind people are not absolute blind. They are partial blind, which means that you can actually create it out. It is just that they need some sort of assistance. And that is where, I collaborated with them. We co-innovated, and what we created was, I was telling to everyone, we created something, what is a software called Drishti, which is where we actually deploy the AI model on their, glasses, and which is something that they are able to detect the object, they are able to identify what it is that they are able to recognize the people, which is the case. So the gist is that having the knowledge of a area for which you are developing, doing a having a knowledge of it is very important rather than sitting in the, white collar area and, assuming that it will happen like this way. No, you need to understand the actual ground realities about it. For example, if you are creating a multilingual applications, right? Okay, India is a multilingual applications, let me create it out, and I have created a lot of them. One of them is a financial multilingual applications to educate the financial literacy. But what we realize that, okay, what happens if the internet is not working? How will you set the, the English text into the stuff and make it? So we have to make it offline, right? So those are the nuances. When you actually work into a ground reality, then you will realize that how it works. So understanding is extremely important, and then make sure that your success criteria is being leveraged about the adoption rate rather than the release stuff, which is extremely important thing for you all to mark it up and, take it up from there.
And this brings us to think about how important design thinking is when designing something. So when you empathize with the user needs is when actually you can come up with a product which actually caters to the requirements of the crowd, like real-time requirement. So I think it's very important, like they both rightly said, that it's very important to understand and identify what is the need of the hour and then work on leveraging technology or data to come up, to build something which is for the greater use, for the entire community to use.
You wanted to.
Okay, hi. So when you'll become managers in the future, I think every one of you might be leading teams. So when you will be leading teams, I think data interpretation and making analysis of the data and then basing your decision on that data will be very much crucial. Do not let your intuition or instinct take the better of you at that time, because there will be a lot of challenges in the corporate world or in the startup world or wherever you will be in the future. But if you have, right now, the era that we live in, we have a lot of data at our disposal, we have a lot of technology, we have a lot of tool points at our disposal. Make sure to use those when taking a decision at that time, because you as managers will not just be impacting business or revenues or anything, you will be responsible for livelihoods. When you're responsible for livelihoods, every decision that you take has to be taken into a lot of consideration, and do bank on data at that time for taking a better decision.
Just one point, I think, which so you mentioned about the importance of collaboration, right? So I'd like to know your views on how important is collaboration in these disruptive times when you can't do everything on your own, right? Collaboration not just in terms of your end user or the customer, but collaboration with the like-minded people, in the industry or within your own domain.
Yeah. Yeah. So see, collaboration, I think, is very important within the organization and outside the organization as well, right? Because most of the times you would be solving a problem that has been already solved by someone else, right? For maybe some other organization or maybe for some other area, right? So collaboration outside the organization helps you to understand how they solve the problem and what are the challenges they faced while solving that problem. Even inside the organization, usually with analytics and tech, what happens is the problem is that they are very well versed with the technology they have to use, right? For example, they know how to write Python codes, they know how to write SQL queries, they know how to use data visualization tools. But the difference between a good analyst versus an average analyst is to understand the business problem at the core, right? And you can never understand the business problem at the core while sitting in front of your computer or laptop, right? You can only understand the problem by interacting with the business people, with the people who are implementing the solutions on the grounds, right? Understand what is the challenge they are facing. Whatever you are developing, how it will help them. And that will also help you to add value to the organization and to the business problem, rather than just coding or just creating dashboards, right? And that is what's happening in most of the organizations. You kind of end up developing something which is not used for, let's say, 70 to 80% of the times. And the thing which lacks is I would not say the wrong realization, but the incomplete understanding of the business problem and the incomplete understanding of how the business is going to use that analysis or the deliverable that you are delivering.
So I think the point of agility in terms of, continuously linking yourself with both the internal and the external stakeholders.
Yes. And I think, see, change is the only constant, right? Whatever technology is there right now, it will change in future, right? For example, maybe 5 years, if you go 5 years back, people were using R codes, right? Everybody was saying that you need to learn R, you need to learn R. And then maybe 2-3 years after, everybody was running behind Python, right? And there will be some other technology in future as well, right? So technology and tools will always change. There will be some industry leader at some point of time. Companies will be adopting those tools and technologies, but the only constant will be your learning, how you are solving business problems, how you are attacking a problem.
So the fundamentals in terms of understanding the core components of the problem, the prioritizing it, right?
Exactly.
And then the application of the tool.
Exactly.
Right.
So these are the means. Tools and technologies are means to solve the problem, not the problem.
So in terms of the collaboration, right, we talked about collaboration has been a key issue, and of course. Now, one of the things that, it is very, very important for you all is how do you collaborate, right? It is just that you go and meet people, and is that the way you are going to collaborate it out into in a corporate world? I think the another mantra that I am going to give it out to you all is one of the other skill set that you need to have is situational awareness. It is fundamental thing. It is not going to change. Very, very specific thing I'm talking about, right? How to shake the hands with the ladies versus shaking the hands with the guys, right? Right? How to eat with a fork, for example, right? How to make sure that you are regarding your elders, right? And all of those. How you are giving a gestures to the people if the person is feeling low at times, right? Those are the skill sets that are going to be a lifelong thing, because it's not about that time that is going to change. But what they are doing is that it is making you prepared for making a long leap in future. That is the stance, right? When the real stuff is going to hit, you are going to be prepared it out 100%. And the way those small things will actually make a change in your life. So having a situational awareness, even while you are sitting over here, and making sure your sit counts, where you are going, whether you are talking to your kids, you are talking to your young ones or elder ones, having a situational awareness is extremely, extremely skill set that every one of you needs to be aware. You need to be at the current of the stuff. Once you started doing the situational awareness stuff, collaboration will automatically started coming you as a part of your stuff. So you should start doing that at that skill set as a part of your daily life. And gradually, once you start becoming a mastery about it, collaboration will always be your harmony in your area as well.
I would like to add something that Shiv Khera contradicted. So they say change is the only constant, right? And nothing is constant. So Shiv Khera in his book, You Can Achieve More, said that we should have the 3 C's in our life to be there as a constant. Like Sir said, situational awareness, right? The first P is people skills. So when we collaborate, we learn about the various kinds of people around, and we actually learn from various mindsets that are there around us, which actually in turns helps us network well and broadens our horizons. And it contributes more to our limiting beliefs, because we are exploring what are the possibilities, which are endless. Second is prioritization skills. So you should know what are the things that you actually want to prioritize, as compared to or in contrast to banging your head on something which is unimportant and which you will not actually look forward to 5 years ahead in your life, which will not matter. And third is persuasion skills, how well you can convince somebody. So when you think about collaborating, it's not only the technological dynamics or the learning curve that helps you, but when you're collaborating within your organization or across, you actually end up finding sponsors, mentors who will actually help you to climb the next step in the ladder of your success. So it is very important. Make sure that you are not the frog in the well. You are someone who constantly climbs and consider growth as your priority.
I would like to add another thing. When it comes to collaboration, it's more of a question of build versus buy. So, and it totally depends. If you have got the money and resources and the time, probably you'll build it. You'll also build it when it's very core to your fundamental operations. For example, we're building India's biggest warehousing and fulfillment platform. So we have no intention of building an HR platform or a finance platform because that is not core to our business. Neither will be able to build it to that quality, or nor it will add significant value. So we'll buy it, which is there. But if it is something core to your thing, build it yourself. If it is not core to yourself, then partner with relevant set of stakeholders. Now the second thing is implementation. So implementation is very critical. So I build multiple applications, TMSs, intracity application, and I've realized that when you interact with the customers, they say that what is the technology edge that you bring in? Everyone asks for it. You said that we have an application, it will track, you can raise complaints, you can see the visibility at real time, you don't need to call to anyone. But India is a trust deficit economy. So India is a trust deficit economy. Manpower is comparatively cheaper. So what we want is we want assistance. We are used to that particular thing. So we have to change that particular culture in this. We want a person to come and help us. We want a person to fill the petrol in a gas station. We want a person who assists us, even though we have that thing at a real-time kind of visibility. So that implementation, you'll not probably believe that out of more than 100 clients, not even 5 people were using that application, although that was their first ask when we were collaborating with them or becoming a vendor there. So that particular point of time, the relationship factor becomes very critical. Relationship factor is very critical with respect to implementation in the internal stakeholders, getting data from them, making them understand the use of that particular data. Implementation, relationship is very critical with respect to adoption from the client side. Unless the client uses it, you will not know what the challenges are. When the client starts using it, there will be more data. When there will be more data, more feedback, the product would improve. So relationship, irrespective of data, irrespective of tools, relationship is basically, you cannot get it from ChatGPT and other things. That is something that you have to do it on your own. And that is very critical with respect to any kind of adoption. We built an intracity application for truck drivers. Very complex intracity, not complex, but you can say critically acclaimed kind of application, which had got all kind of features, all kind of reports, everything probably a person would. But it drastically failed at the ground level. Then what we did was we created a simple application. One big green button, trip shuru kare. Goal sa, pure screen mein. Not very good UI. Trip stop kare. Pila button, ek hara button. 3 buttons, very minimal, and lot of good option from the truck drivers. So you need to understand. So you do not get obsessed with your solution. That this is my solution, this is a good solution, it's a critically acclaimed solution. You have to get it adopted at the ground level. You need to understand उस stakeholder का दिमाग कितना है, उसका level कितना है. आपने यहाँ पर बहुत अच्छा बना दिया, आपको award मिल जाएगा, लेकिन implementation नहीं होगा. So you need to understand that particular thing. Don't get obsessed with your solution. Get obsessed with the particular problem. You do not need a rocket to kill a fly. जो जैसा काम है उस हिसाब से करना है, उसमें implementation की बात होती है. So that is the most critical aspect of it.
I think we can go on and on with all this gyan, but this particular session is for you people, and I think there would be a lot of inquiries, questions in your mind. I think we'll take this extra 5 minutes from this session and allow students to ask more number of questions. Yeah, so we'll start with you, and then with you, and then with you. Okay.
Yes, good afternoon to all the panel speakers. So I have a very pertinent question coming to the recent times. Like during the corona pandemic, we saw that companies were coming up with a lot of disruptions. Like even Zoom video was being used drastically, and all of the companies had started getting video conferencing platforms into their use case. And that is when they said that this is a kind of change and demand that we have achieved in just few weeks, which we were anticipating to achieve in like a lot of years. So in such cases, after the pandemic as well, we have witnessed that companies are coming up with a lot of disruptions, and as such, they have become very hyper competitive. And disruptions are coming like in a way which is not being accepted by the market very techfully. So in such cases, in data analytics, and when you know that the timing is not very apt, it is not correct to go for the market, but your competitor has come up with such products, then how do you go about with it? How do you tackle such things internally with your stakeholders and externally as well?
So first of all, it should align with your what the fundamental vision of the organization is. If someone is doing, you do it just for the heck of it, it doesn't make much sense. The other thing is it should make mathematical sense. So in the end, ganit hai sab cheez ka. Maths backna chahiye. If the maths is not there, there is no point. People try to do because there is a trend. During Corona, people started to live in their hometowns. So there was a emerging growth of startups which were putting the acting as a storage space for their house, so they don't have to pay the rent. They grew. After that, खत्म हो गया. ठीक है. तो वो टेम्परेरी के बेसिस पे आप परमानेंट डिसीजन नहीं ले सकते, प्रोफेशनली भी और पर्सनली भी. So you need to understand what is the long-term dynamics which is there. People get swayed by the trends, but in the end, you will see eventually. You need to understand whether it make economical sense even at a scale, because most of the business models which are there, I don't see an economical sense even at a scale and a highly optimized kind of manner. Multiple startups have closed down at unicorn valuations. I know their founders and I've seen them grow, putting in a story, but I couldn't see the maths turning out in the most of the optimized kind of scenario also. So don't get swayed about it. First of all, what is your fundamental vision? Does it remotely align with it? Then second thing is, does it make economic sense? Maybe not today, but at a particular scale. Then only take a decision. Or else you are Elon Musk, you have a lot of money, then you can do anything. Yeah.
So I think most of these things that are being called as disruptions, I see them as the need of the hour for those organizations, right? So if I take an example from Lenskart, right? So during COVID, retail stores were closed, offline stores were closed, and most of the revenue for Lenskart comes from the offline stores, retail stores. So Lenskart started telesales and chat as another channel, because prescription eyewear is a category where you need a lot of assistance in terms of selecting your frame, lenses, etc., power. So Lenskart started a telecall with a telecalling number where you can just call, and the agent will help you with placing your order on the application, and that kind of helped them sail through that COVID period. Right. So a combination of online as a channel and telesales and chat as a channel that helped them sail through that difficult time. And now it is a channel which is giving them a healthy share of their revenue. Right. So as Arun also mentioned that there are lots of startups who kind of tried to do some unnecessary things like 15 minutes delivery or 20 minutes delivery, 10 minutes delivery thing. And you can look at their economics right now. So I think looking at disruption from a disruption point of view should not be the way forward. It should be the need of the hour for that business, and obviously the economics has to make sense.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, dear panelists. So there has already been a discussion about how it's the company's responsibility to ethically use the data that they have. But from a layman or an individual point of view, how can we ensure that our data is not mishandled or misused by companies?
You can go offline. So basically, I mean, for a layman, it becomes practically, I can say anything, but practically it becomes very difficult. We also daily sign a lot of you can say customer agreements and everything. We don't even read it. We just say yes. So the only way to foolproof is do not use any platform. But as a mature students and more educated people, probably sir would be in a better position to answer that.
That's a good stuff to put. See, it depends upon the way, right? You need to understand the technology also, which is going to be very, very important and very, very pivotal in terms of how you do it. I talked about social media stuff, right? So if you are generating a content, again, then you need to make sure that you are owning medical records, right? You know, contents that is generated over a period of time from a YouTube stuff. The way if you are taking the stuff from Uber from one place to another, even that content is also generating it out because it's just giving an actionable. How much of this is something that you are okay, because if you have started using the tools and all technologies that are changing. Now there are ways which is where it is actually changing the paradigm shift, and everybody needs to be aware. Is everyone aware about blockchain? What is blockchain? What is blockchain? Come on, guys.
Confidently बोलो यार, देखो AIR का वीडियो आ जाता है कि किसी से पूछते हैं, ऐड आती है ना उसमें, blockchain बहुत अच्छा है, बहुत बढ़िया, बहुत अच्छा है, लेकिन पूछते क्या है?
What is blockchain? Just one thing, anything, guess कर लो. हाँ बोलो, please.
Instead of storing data at one, let's say warehouse, you store data at various locations around the world. So it's like in case of a data, like it's a very basic understanding, but
see, to be very honest, right, in view of time, right? You know, it's a distributed ledger stuff. We try to do it and all, but why is it there? What is the need of it? So when you utilize the technology, you need to understand the history about it, right? So for blockchain is changing the way we trust the system. Okay? What is blockchain doing? It is changing the way we are trusting the system. So let's say if I want to transfer some money to him, I will realize it out to systems like payment gateway, banks and all, right? Blockchain say, no. Why you are using a third party? You are giving some payment and all of those. Better it is you realize the system, right? And that is how we are going to do it. Blockchain can also do the money transfer over a period of time. I'm just giving a situation. Same way, in terms of realizing whether the data has been not tampered or, safe, we are utilizing the distributed ledger to making sure that, okay, nothing has been transferred because it's based on blockchain. So technology also play a bit of pivotal roles, right? That's the case. Now you have to go with a safe, and then you need to start trusting the system, right? So if you are trusting, something like Amazons of the world, so that if you are ordering, it will come to your residence in terms of package. That's a trusted system. So some systems needs to be trusted, some systems cannot be, and that you need to be self-aware that which are the systems that you need to trust and which are not. So you don't need to read all those agreements every time, and then you need to have a bit of demarcation between those and make sure that you are making a right balance, and then you have to make it forward. But you need to be very, very educated about the data that you are generating, right? I just give an example of Uber stuff and all, right? Sometimes people are not even aware about the data that they are generating, then that's a problem that needs to be still solved.
Thank you, sir.
So good afternoon to the esteemed panelists and Himanshu sir as well. So the session started off with the discussion regarding the importance of data harnessing. So when it comes to understanding the data and taking decisions based off it, there are two types of people who actually do the whole work regarding data. There are people who develop the insights, and there are people who understand the insights based on the data, and they take decisions or move them forward to the other members. So since there are newer tools that are getting thrown into the mix, the insights are getting more and more self-explanatory. And even though Arun sir, you did mention that there are practical nuances added into the factor as well. But if we keep on adding parameters and constants into the mix, the data comes down to a certain point where the system itself makes it pretty clear regarding the decision we need to make. So since you have been in that position where you had to take decisions based of data, don't you think that over time the need of human interference while making a decision for the company is gonna become redundant?
Hi. So I talked about assisted, guided, and directed. You're talking about the directed phase. So what happens is a lot of data available. Now the current concept which is prominent amongst most of the CXOs is management by exception. So you cannot look into everything. What data does is it gives us proper nudges. This is not going well, this is doing well. So they have to only interfere or get involved in those particular locations. Now what happens is, see, irrespective of anything, not everything is fair in this world. So it's not that you do hard work and you will get the success right away, or if you put in some inputs. So there will be always a sense of probability which is there. And there is always, this data is not for critical decision making. There are a lot of other factors which would not be there. You are saying that over a period of time, we will consider all the factors. But that is practically not possible. So that is practically not possible. So there needs to be an element of, you can say, human judgment, which is there. It might not be in all the cases, but maybe in the strategical cases, it would require. Because as per data, there are multiple decisions which should not have been taken. But people still take it. As per mathematics, there are a lot of startups which do not show, you can say, a viable economic future which is there. But still people take a decision understanding that in future there might come a scenario by virtue of which this can lead to an exponential increase in value, etc. So a lot of things are predictable, a lot of things are not predictable. So there is an element of, you can say, human judgment which is required, which captures a lot of these parameters which these data points cannot capture. A lot of these parameters are subjective in nature.
As I mentioned about the trusted systems, right? There are systems and the models that you need to trust, and sometimes you don't need to trust, right? How many of you trust ChatGPT? That whatever it says is correct? Of course. So human intervention is required, right? See, since the time AI has come, AI is built on the models based on the data, and 99% of the time, this data is biased. And you need to have that thing in your mind, right? If you ask, and I just give you a classic example, right? And I don't know if it got changed recently, but you know, I just give you, if you ask that ChatGPT, can you give me a top 10 CEOs in the world? It will actually list down the top 10 CEOs, but none of them is going to be an Asian blood, okay? Which is going to be surprising because the Asian blood is actually at the demarcation of almost all the topmost echelons of the companies. Now, how is that happened? Because the data has been a bias, right? Data has been a bias from the gender diversity stuff as well, right? So I think for my side, from coming from an AI area, I feel that now the human judgment has to be much more prudent, because now you are not relying on it, though you are getting an instant answer, but validating and ensuring the correctness, it is very, very important now to have an human intervention. Of course, the tasks are going to be displaced over a period of time, and that continuously will be, because obviously we as a human beings doesn't want to do a human thing, you know, monotonous stuff. Things of the postmen, right? The task has been displaced over a period of time, but that is the job of a postman has gone over a period of time? No, right? They have become more like a bankers over a period of time, right? So new stuff, new job where our minds can do a lot of more work is going to evolve over a period of time. But then these judgments, actually this requires a more prudent way of deciding and taking it forward. So I think this is much more tougher time than the previous ones.
So the tool, whatever we are talking about, the number might make different sense to different persons as well, right? So for example, if we take any KPI, right? So that KPI might mean a different action for some other team and might mean some other action for some other team. Plus, putting business context to that number, I think that will always be with the help of human intervention, right? How does that number or how does that insight need to be looked from a business point of view rather than just a number point of view?
the data privacy laws that are coming into the picture, wherein the amount of data that would be available for processing and analyzing would itself get reduced. So in that scenario, how would we approach a given problem with the limited amount of data, and is there an alternative way to approach this?
Not like that. Means data will always be there. It is number of data which is going to be over a period of time, because you need to give a consent in terms of whether you are allowing the data or not. From the technology standpoints, there are multiple ways of training a model in case if there is a lack of data. Of course, not going through the assumption. There is something called fire shot tuning kind of stuff. There is one method about it. There is stuff what we are calling as transfer learning. There is another way. There are multiple ways by which you can always create your model. And model is something, it's not going to be static in nature, right? It is going to be dynamic, right? Because you improve the accuracy of model over a period of time, right? So initially it will give 50% accuracy, but over a period of time, once the data comes out, you are going to train the model and increase it out and then move it forward. So certainly, yes, there's stuff going to be there, and the trusted based systems and the models needs to be created over a period of time. Because model as a service is going to be the future over a period of time, right? How you present it, right? It can be a different game altogether, right? So model is going to be the epitome of the new business avenues that are going to come, and they are going to be based on data, right? And certainly that you need to figure it out the ways to improve it, and that's because there is no other options that you have right now.
Good afternoon to all the panelists. My question to everyone would be, for large-scale industries and in general multinational corporations, they have the means to invest heavily into artificial intelligence and chat GPT or like data in general. But in a similar manner, how can small-scale industries use data and artificial intelligence to amplify their game and level up in the market?
You can take that, right? So I think that statement itself is wrong, to be honest, right? Now you search on Google or LinkedIn or stuff, give me 50, 100 apps which can utilize, which is AI driven. Of course, you will get it out easily. It is the startups or the race is who is trying to innovate and what they are trying to do it, right? Now the only difference which is going to come over a period of time is that the return in terms of innovations, right? What the startups get it versus what the big companies, because startups, if they fail, they are going to perish, right? At least the big companies have that sort of stuff because they can still handle it out and balance it. So I think the question is not about what they can, but that's a model that how it normally the company works. But I don't think so there has been a change about it, because all the tools are readily available, right? Because it's not something stuff. Of course, you are not going to make another chat GPT of the stuff, but then there are companies who are trying to create their own disruption, because this is the time where each and every industry is transforming the way they work, right? So it's an opportunity for every one of them. I drive the innovation charter for my company. And what I do with the startups is, I have the Fortune 500 clients, right? But startups can give me competitive advantage. So I try to seek the startups and mid-sized firms that can give me a competitive advantage. And how can we become a bridge maker between the startups as well as the stuff? So I think gone are those days where we are talking about I stuff, right? We are into an area of we economy, where we co-innovate, collaborate, and partner it out depending on where the innovation is. And that's why you will always see that, some of the startups are either being consumed or either being partnered out with stuff and making it out as a unicorns. And that's the way, because if you really have a real business model from a startup perspective and you are resolving it, certainly, you will be either being consumed by the big giants or taken over. Right?
Okay, hi. As I told you, I come from a very traditional industry which was not using. So I'll give you a bring of sea of change. So it's a very unorganized industry. I'm not even talking about startups now. I'm talking about small brokers that are there in the market or small shops that are there in the market. They have started using data analytics because everything is out there for free. How they're learning, there's a Coursera that is there and things that are there that people are learning from. There are courses being offered. So they are funding the interns that are there with them. They're making them learn all those things, and when they are coming back. So now, talking about a little bit bigger companies or startups that are there in the real estate domain. So what they're trying to do is how to make interactions easier. And to do that, every tool that they're using is there available in the market. As I said, the apps are there, all the tools are there, and they're doing that with minimal cost. See, we were able to reach the moon with the very minimal cost, right? So we have that power. If we have that power, we'll be able to utilize that. That is where we Indians, I think, are the best at in cost optimization.
Basically, I would like to add one thing. So whatever we have discussed, data, analysis, everything, all boils down to the ROI. So for example, multiple time, it's not that the SMEs or the smaller companies don't want to spend. Probably they need a better education that this amount of investment, whatever, whether it's investment on the tool, whether it's investment on the, you can say, manpower which can use that tool, because it's generally not the lack of cost. They basically lack the people who use this particular, who can use this tool to create meaningful ROIs. So everything that you do, whatever visibility you're trying to bring, there'll be a lot of KRAs or KPIs, data points, which will not add any value. So you need to quantify that whatever data analysis is being done, and this leads to actionable insights, which leads to XYZ saving. So eventually, the whole what I've seen is a lot of these SMEs, even if we go to them and say that, okay, use this thing, they say that, इसको use करने में इतना पैसा लगेगा, उसमें इतनी ट्रेनिंग लगेगी, उससे मेरा कितना फायदा होगा? उन्होंने फायदा इतना तो यार, इतने में सर दिमाग खराब नहीं करना है अपने को, इतना तो मैं वैसे कर लूँगा. So they need to understand. So everyone, for example, the taxi drivers, initially we don't want to use Uber or Ola. Then they eventually learned all the applications. So if you are getting money from it, if you are getting return from it, and you are educated enough, people will find a way and learn it. So you have to quantify the returns of the data or the investment made in data or data-driven insights in a commercial manner, and that is a language most of these people understand.
I think if you look at the history of technology and data analytics, most of the innovations, most of the technology tools, tools like Airflow, and there are a couple of other tools as well, most of them were developed as an open source technology, right? And most of the people who developed those technologies were not large scale corporations, right? They were a couple of folks who got together and developed something, right? And then those technologies were taken over by these giants, right? So I think one advantage that these small businesses or small companies have, that they are very agile. They don't have to move a lot of stones in order to pivot, in order to do some disruptions. They are small size companies and they can pivot very quickly. They can do disruptions very quickly, whereas in a large size corporation, you have to convince a lot of people, you have to discuss a lot, and then you take a decision and then implement it. So I think that's the advantage that small businesses have.
I think that's all the time that we have for the discussion.
On behalf of everyone present here, I express my sincere gratitude to the guest speakers. We truly appreciate their presence and the wisdom that is shared, despite their demanding schedules. We leave this discussion inspired and armed with fresh perspectives and ideas that will undoubtedly shape our future understanding of the industry. We kindly invite Himanshu sir to give away the mementos to our guests, starting with Mr. Arun Pandit. Sir highlighted the importance of capturing data effectively and emphasized the various stages in data analytics evolution. Next, we have Mr. Nishit Pathak. Sir gave us a very important quote: "If data is the new oil, then AI is the new refinery," highlighting the importance of AI and analytics. Next, we have Ms. Vishakha Jain. From ma'am, we take away a very important quote: "The top of one mountain is the bottom of another." This is relevant not just in life, not just in analytics, but in life. Next, we have Mr. Arun Bhardwaj. Sir highlighted the importance of understanding what KPIs mean and making sense of it in different contexts, and also touched upon the importance of data literacy for organizations. Next, we have Mr. Kartikeya Sharma. Sir focused on the importance of ethics by saying that we should not forget ethics in the pursuit of ease of doing business. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our moderator, Professor Himanshu Joshi sir, for being an enthusiastic presence here today and for making the session highly interactive. I would not like to call upon Mr. Chitwan Jindal to present Himanshu sir with a memento as a token of our appreciation.
As we draw this enlightening discussion to a close, we would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to all of you who have been part of this engaging conversation, the guests, participants, speakers, professors, students, and the staff of IMI. Additionally, we are honored to announce our esteemed partners and sponsors for Conventus 2023 at IMI New Delhi. Their support and collaboration have been instrumental in making this event a resounding success. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to Phoenix Global, Recode Studios, RPSG, Fresca, Power Grid Corporation of India Limited, The Hindu, Easy Diner, Silgo Retail Limited, Orient Electric, Business Standard, The Tarzan Way, Segal Doors, Safe Express, Bank of India, ICICI Bank, Adda 52, Madover Donuts, MS Sham Stores, and Caplots. Thank you all and have a great day ahead. Lastly, I would like to request the organizing team and student council to come forward for a picture with the panel.